Welcome to Alpha Wolf Trading. Did you know that there's over 12,000 stocks or companies that trade on the OTC? Between the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange, you have over 7,000 companies. But us as retail investors, we wouldn't know that unless we were researching. Because why? Wall Street focuses on the elite, the big companies. And where the retail investor has their advantage is in small and micro-cap stocks. Why? Because you have the opportunity to speak directly with leadership. That is what this is all about here at Alpha Wolf Trading. We're trying to find the hidden gems, and we interview the executive teams of companies that we think meet the parameters to be those hidden gems. I also want to make sure you understand that this is not a paid-for promotion. I collect no compensation for the interviews I do here. These companies that I interview have been identified as potential opportunities for me and the members of Alpha Wolf Trading to receive a higher than average return on our investment. These companies I have identified either because of a technical setup on a chart, a fundamental change within the organization, new management team, new products, all kinds of different things that actually lead me here. But what do I think is the most important? Leadership. And that is why I do these interviews. I want to understand what drives the person that is leading the charge. I want to feel their passion. I want to understand their vision and the strategy that they're going to use to achieve success. That is what these interviews are for. I want to understand the share structure and the cap table, the size of the TAM, the total addressable market. This is the opportunity to learn all of those things. So sit back and enjoy. And if you learn anything from today's interview, do us a favor. Subscribe to the Alpha Wolf Trading YouTube channel. This video is for educational and entertainment purposes only. I am not a financial advisor. I recommend highly that before buying any security, speak to a financial advisor and do your own due diligence. Hey everybody, Tim from Alpha Wolf Trading coming at you with a follow-up interview with a very, very busy man, but one that I respect tremendously. That I think is a warrior. He's been through this isn't the first rodeo he's been in, and I've participated in other companies that Rob has been involved with. Apps is one that is fresh in my mind still because it was an absolute monster, and that was a stock I think got down to 80 something cents and wound up going to $100. But I know that people were thinking you were down and out at that time, Rob. So Rob Ellin,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. I didn't think I was down and out. We were actually 46 cents, right? And very different than this time. That was in in 30 minutes, we dropped from 600 million to 40 cents. And, we had a lot to fight through there. We had debt to fight through and so on. And we came out of it stronger than ever. And, we have a passion for these companies. We love what we build. We love the teams that we have, and we get into the bunkers and we win. And that's it.
You've said in the past that this is, of all the companies you've built, this is the one you love the most.
Yeah. So, I've loved every one of my companies that I've started, just like Digital Turbine, and, and have had the great luxury that I've gone through these cycles, right? Both stock market cycles as well as company cycles, because we're all public venture capital. Public venture capital, you start off as a story stock, right? Then you become a growth stock, and then you become a value stock, right? And you wonder why it happens, but the reality is it's just part of the system. Right. It's an inefficient market, which is where I've made all my money. And it's where most people have gotten, really had those 10 to 100 X's like Digital Turbine, is because it's an inefficient market. Right. And, I'm not smart enough to run a $100 billion company and run Microsoft or Apple or buy those stocks. Right. We're really laser focused on this area of the market where there's an inefficiency, and that inefficiency becomes, really the golden goose for us, right? When COVID hit, we lost all of our live business, our stock dropped all the way down, but we bought PodcastOne, right? And by buying PodcastOne, our audio business, right, now moved from 95% subscription and 38 million in revenues. This year we're going to finish the year about $120 million in revenues, right? Which is, March 31st. So we're almost there. All right. And we've just announced our first ever multi 8-figure deal with a major streaming network. And we raised our guidance for next year to 140 to 155 million. Most of that's baked already. Right. If we pull up another B2B deal, if we pull up another partnership, it could be way higher than that. But this is a really exciting time for the company. And I think, Tim, when we talked about this last time, when the maturation of your business hits over $100 million, clean over 100, you have the ability to really recognize and understand how many people you need on your team, what overhead you need, what do you need to run it to make sure that your margins are there. And we've got the healthiest margins in the entire industry. We've proven in a 5-year period to be able to take a $20 million slacker business, losing 10 million with $50 million in payables, and turn it into, literally a gold mine. All right. We've turned it into an uber successful company, just like the Turbine. This year, just on the audio business alone, we'll do 130 to 140 million with 20 to 25 million dollars of EBITDA.
And a lot of that is, I mean, you've grown sponsors in a massive way, some very recognizable name brands, right?
Yep.
I mean,
our sponsors, Tim, and it's getting more exciting because there's a couple of things have happened. Our podcast business, not just us, but the industry has gone through this crazy cycle, right? $28 billion of acquisitions, everybody throwing money at the space, right? Great things coming of it. But then everyone realized what the size of the market is today. And it's the beginning of the beginning. This is still the first inning of podcasting. It's gone from 400 million to 1.2 billion. It's going to 7 to 10 billion, right? And it's going off of many revenue streams. So really exciting for us is we got our podcast business now is growing as fast as our other audio business. The podcast business, we did 32 million last year. We just announced we did 10.6 million for the quarter, right? And we just announced, 24 new podcasts that I said will average about $350,000 per podcast. All right. The cycle is coming in our favor. It was a seller's market for podcasters, a seller market for podcast networks. Now it's a very different market. The deals are getting cut way closer to 60-40 than 80-20. The podcasters are leaving the Spotify's and the app because they've got their Joe Rogans, they've got their Howard Sterns, right? They can't afford to manage a $250,000 or $1 million or $3 million podcast. There's a lot of work involved in it, right? Those podcasters, all those contracts coming due. So we have the biggest pipeline we've ever had in the history of the company, over 100 podcasts. That's 10x what we've ever had before. All right, I can be more excited about that. Same thing on the podcast acquisition side. We said we have over 10 podcast networks right now that we're in negotiations, just like we did with Gas Media, to acquire. All right. So we're going to continue to grow that substantially. You're going to continue to see almost on a bi-weekly basis another podcaster joining our network. And these are mature podcasts with traffic and audience and revenues. We're just going to ramp them up, throw them into our community, build them out, and really give them that white glove treatment, handhold them, and build them across our community and grow.
Okay. Live events, like, just so everybody's clear, I mean, and the social media stuff, right? I mean, you had Social Gloves, which, actually was a much better event than I thought it was going to be. But there was that whole cloud around the whole thing.
Yep.
There was at one point, I think, a desire to continue to do those types of things. Is that still part of the plan?
Yeah. I mean, the flywheel has come together so beautifully. And Tim, you had the luxury of coming to our studio, and you were there right in the beginning when it was opening, right? We took a 10,000 square foot home and turned it into recording studios. We now have 3 recording studios. We had one when I saw you. We now have 1 podcast studio in there, a beautiful podcast studio. I'm so excited. Every day I come in, there's a podcast. There's 2 podcast shows being shot on a Saturday today, right, in the studio. Last night at midnight, there was sessions going on with recording studios. So all of that flywheel built off of creator first, focused on super fans, right? Has really started to come in where every day we're driving new revenues and driving additional revenues, and all those ancillary revenues starting to kick in, right? The celebrity brands, the publishing side of it, right? Our TV division, right? We now have 5 shows that are in the works right now that are going to turn into at least 1 or 2 of them are going to turn into studio shows. They're going to sell to Netflix or Apple or so on. And that's with no additional cost to any of them. You've got the same piece of content driving brand new revenue streams.
Is your brother involved in the TV shows at all?
Yeah, my brother's podcast has been on my network where Vic
Yeah,
Create,
no.
right,
Yeah.
and Ramble on. So who knows? We I just finished lunch with my brother. Just finished an epic lunch, one of the great barbecues in LA, and we were sitting and talking about it and how exciting podcasting is and where it's going. This is literally the beginning of it, and there's got to be a flush out, right? So everybody and their mother wanted to create a podcast, right? Now's the time where you really have to focus and understand either you're doing it right for social messaging or you're doing it to make money, right? We're in the business to make money, right? So we're laser focused on those podcasts that really can achieve real goals, right? Hit minimum of $250,000 in revenues, and probably the biggest will probably be $5 or $10 million. We probably won't get the Joe Rogans or the Howard Stern. We're just not big enough for it, right? But we are the best at servicing, right? That full 360 hand-holding process of doing everything from marketing to sales to PR, so on. And if you just watch, you watch the show we just announced on Varnamtown. This is one of the most interesting stories I've ever seen. I produced it with Patrick Waxberger. Patrick won an Academy Award for Coda, and he produced Twilight and La La Land and 20 billion of other movies, right? And he's a big believer that podcasts are going to turn into television shows and movie. So we launched Varnamtown, which you must listen to, right? It's a little town in North Carolina, a REO Speedway, for any of you who's old enough like we are, right? An REO Speedwagon plane landed in this little town called Varnamtown. 300 people in North Carolina, like right out of the TV show Ozark. And somehow everybody got filthy rich. And it turned out Pablo Escobar had infiltrated and figured out he needed a small town versus Miami to use. And, just listen to it. It's epic. And I think there'll be bidding wars at the studio for someone to buy it.
That's fantastic. All right, so you just had a news announcement this week about birthday sex, and that's of course a wine, not actually the action, but a wine that has come out.
Well, hopefully there's a cause and effect. So birthday sex was a passion of Jeremiah, one of the great R&B singers ever, with billions of downloads of his music, and he created this beautiful song, Birthday Sex, right? And so he came to us to convince us to make a white wine for his community, right? And I put together a collaboration of himself and Russell Bevan. Combination is just lethal. Russell's the Babe Ruth of Napa Valley. He has more 90 to 100 point wines than almost anyone in Napa Valley. Put the two of them together and we created this beautiful wine. We marketed it and we did it in a real unique way, right? In that every single time that Jeremiah's on tour, 56 shows so far, he just announced another 50 shows. A scissor reel comes up, 50 Cent, Chance the Rapper, Busta Rhymes, Jeremiah performing his song, and you got all this talent. And what are they doing? Scissor reel comes up, beautiful girl comes on, marketing our wine, right? And there's Jeremiah and his star-studded crew drinking that wine. We sold out of every single bottle we made already. Okay, so we're about to launch that into the market. Retail's excited about it. So far, the reaction has been super impressive. And as you know, in that market, if you get to 10 million in revenues, you can sell for $100 million, right? If you get to 100 million in revenue, you could do what George Clooney did. You could sell for $1 billion, right? And celebrity brands are taking over the world. These social media stars, I've been talking about this for 10 years since I started Digital Turbine. Get those social media stars, whether actors, music performers, social media stars, get them on their platform, right? Just like when we broke Jake Paul the first time ever, just like when we did Social Gloves, get them on your platform and own a product in conjunction with them. And let them drive their super fans to that product.
Right? And the wines, just because I happen to know, are actually good. There's another one on the way, right?
There's another one coming.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about this. And this is really fascinating. In the rosé market, a multi-billion-dollar market, there's only really pink rosé. we made the first ever purple rosé. And stay tuned. You're going to see that. You're going to see us launching. You're going to be launching somewhere between 8 and 12 products this year with celebrities with very little cost to us that will be driven by our communities. 50 billion downloads of our live stream of our audio music, 5 billion engagements across our video, our live streaming. Okay. And massive audience across our podcast, over 7 million a month. And each of those, we're going to use that excess inventory and we're going to drive those products and we're going to own our own products. And in podcasting, it's so exciting because, the DM market, the direct response market is 50% of the revenues in that market. Imagine if you own your own product.
Right. Right. So you're still doing live events with the iHearts, and are you still covering those as well, Rob?
Are we still covering podcast?
Live events with iHeart and all that stuff.
Yes, we're doing a tremendous amount of our own live events, including coming up this Saturday night. I can't tell you yet, but as you know, I told you about Billie Eilish before anyone had ever heard of her. We told you about Playboy Cardi. You've been there for all of it, man. You were there when we put Kid Leroy on. We put him on for like $3,000, right? Onto Music Lives, the first ever digital music festival that blew up TikTok, right? It was the largest live stream ever in the history of TikTok, right? And literally we put Kid Leroy on and he became the biggest star in the world right now. He's literally top 10 artist in the world and, headlines at Coachella. So you're going to see a kid perform on Saturday night. Make sure you watch. And you're going to see probably 7 to 10 red carpet, all done at our studios, right? All done with an amazing host at a billboard, right? With a massive audience between these. And you're going to see us break the next superstar.
All right. So real quick, I mean, there's two other things I want to just highlight here: Drumify and Split Mind, right? Those two. Why Drumify?
So, young man, we call him Half affectionately, which is his nickname. Aiden is a young, brilliant, young 26-year-old gentleman that created the first ever. If you know what Splice is doing over $300 million in revenues. It blew up during COVID. It is kids making beats and sounds that end up in music. And those kids are all getting a $100 check or a $500 check, but they get no royalties, right? And these beats and sounds end up inside of Drake's songs and Post Malone songs and everybody else's. So we created a platform called Split Mind and Drumify, which we both produce as well as we set up a storefront, right, for these kids that is the Cartier of that, the super talented kids that are creating these sounds and beats. And man, it's flying. We're up 300% already. We get to drive that across Slacker Radio, obviously. We hear a song that's exploding. We're up for 3 Grammys. Okay. 5 months into us, we're up for 3 Grammys and the revenues are up 300%. And, Splice, who knows, could be worth $1 billion today. There's no reason when you're paying royalties to the kids, if you know what mailbox money is, right? When you start getting those checks, when I did Atmosphere Films and, had the movie 300, it was the gift that kept giving every year for it's now almost 20 years. Every quarter and every year you keep getting paid. And when you get that mailbox money, whether it's $100, $1,000, or $1 million, it's really exciting. And what happens today is it becomes so viral that all the producers are telling other producers, why don't you put your content on? And we're very selective who gets on. We're very careful of whose music we put on, but we have 2 of our kids up for Grammys, 3 songs up for Grammys, and next year we'll be up for 5 Grammys.
Man, the kids are getting taken care of instead of being taken advantage of.
Correct. They get paid for the rest of their lives.
Right.
I imagine you hit a song and it ends up, and Josh, who runs music for us, he had that little song with Justin Bieber, right? That blew up, right? And just keeps making money for the rest of his life on it, right? We're going to have the same thing here. These young kids, one of our kids is 18 years old. He's up at 2 Grammys. He's got, I don't know, 70 songs now. He's going to get paid for the rest of his life on every one of those songs. And if one of them truly blows up, if you win a Grammy, forget it. The numbers will go up 10x overnight, right? So we're expecting to win at least 1 Grammy. And it'd be really special for these kids. These kids are working so hard. They're working around the clock. And everyone talks about, young kids don't work hard. I promise you, these kids are working as hard as you.
So let me just say that when you were first moving into the studio, I was there for the LV Micro conference, spent some time at the new studio, and the culture that you have at that studio in your organization is something very special
Thank
that
you.
you don't normally see in a publicly traded company. It's like a family. I mean, it's like um, it's like the Brady. I mean, it's literally like a family
No,
there.
it is a family, right? We went through tough times, right? We lost all of our live partners, Live Nation, AG, iHeart for 3 years, right? We were doing some of the biggest shows in the world, from Rock in Rio to EDC to around the world, Japan, China, right? We lose all of that, right? And we had to regroup. We lost some, as you know, some dear friends, and we had to make, hard decisions to consolidate. We started cutting costs almost 3 years ago now, because we saw the writing on the wall that this can't last forever, right? And it's going to change and it's going to get difficult. And thank God we were right, because we wouldn't be here otherwise, right? And so we got into the bunkers. And as a team and as a family, when you come into our offices, you're going to see, you know, my staff, my CFO, his kids are in all the time. My kids are at the studio all the time. When you come to this Grammy party this weekend, right? And I don't even call it a party. I mean, it's a spectacular event. It is just such an enjoyable to see podcasts and recording studios and everything happening simultaneously, and see our products, our TV shows are coming, is really exciting. You're going to see a lot of those kids there. You're going to see the children of many of my staff who have balanced their life between survival, right, and momentum. Right, we have momentum right now. I feel the mojo right now. You haven't felt it for a while, right? I feel the mojo. You're starting to feel it in the stock, but you're feeling it in the company. And every one of my and I promise you, I'm saying this total humble pie. Every one of my companies that I've started and built and put in more than $1 million in, as you know, Tim, I have over $18 million invested in this. I'm buying back a tremendous amount of stock right now. I just announced I bought $4 million in stock. I just increased the buyback to 10 million. Right. I'm going to keep buying every window that's open. I will keep buying it back if it's going to trade down here. And that momentum is building, and that energy is building, and you can feel it. You can feel it from your head to your toe. My hands, my feet, my mouth are all engaged. I feel what happened in Digital Turbine. I feel what happened in i1.com. I feel what happened in Majesco. Every one of my stocks for the last 30 years that I've gotten this deep in has had a window where they've traded to $25 and better. And every one of them went through really tough cycles, right? Really tough cycles. Okay. I feel it right now. I feel that energy. And we're really proud of this team. We're really proud of this family, as you described it. We're going for the jugular right now.
Yeah, so you are a market veteran. You've been through cycles. This one was a long one. This was a very long, for the small and micro cap names. This has just been for 33 months. It's been just
I
painful.
don't I don't even hear anyone talk about 2008 anymore, because 2008 I was skiing in Aspen, and I'm a terrible skier. But from the top of the mountain to the bottom, I lost $480 million in stock value. It made no sense, made no logical sense, right? But when these collapses happen in microcaps, they happen painfully. This one is 3 years, three
Right.
years just down like this, little curves up. This wasn't a heart attack that happened quick. This was a heart monitor going like this, and it was always going further down, and it just got worse and worse. And and it feels like it's getting a little better, but it also is going to become a stock picker's market. And where I've always won is during those times. My stocks have had runs in the worst markets. When COVID first hit and this market was killed, we ran from 74 cents the day we went down. 3 months later, as you know, Tim, we traded 80 million shares and went back to $7.50. And we did all the things we could do. We paid
Right.
off our debt, right? We got Universal Music to put $10 million of royalties. It's in, right? And we got our biggest debt holder convert to equity at $2.10, still 50% above this market today, right? It's kind of wild how bad it got. And it means there's an opportunity, right? If you listen to the show Acquired, I listen to every episode of it. Everyone from Jeff Bezos, you never forget when it was the Amazon boom on the cover of Barron's. Amazon traded to $1. Today it's 1,000 right off that, right? Okay. Apple, right, went through that cycle, right? Nvidia's gone through it 5 times, right? In order to succeed, you're going to have to survive the stock market, and you're also going to have to survive, company crises. It happens. All right. We've survived both of them. We've survived COVID. We survived the market crash. We survived the bank crash, right? Banks just literally, closing in on little companies like ours and most of the other ones. And yeah, I'm proud to say today we just announced our largest cash position, $11 million. We paid off all of our debt at Podcast One is now down to zero. We bought back $4 million of stock and our cash is going up. So I publicly said we're going to do over $17 million of cash flow from the core operating business, that audio business. And everyone sees the numbers keep going up, right? The revenues are going up, the number of podcasts going up. The more creators we have on the platform, the bigger their super fans are, the better we're going to do.
And there's more levers for you to pull. I mean, so a lot of people will suggest that your relationship with Tesla, that's really the key to your success, right? But that's not a true statement. It's in terms of percentage of revenue for the entire company. What is Tesla to you guys? Are you willing?
I mean, we haven't given an exact number, but we just announced a multi-8-figure deal with a streaming platform, right? So that's at least $20 million of revenues, right? So if you look at what the percentages were last year, right, in the high 30s, right, and you add that in, and Tesla's going to grow like crazy this year, right? Like crazy. We're watching it. I don't care what was announced last week, right? That company is on fire. That guy is the smartest guy in the business. He understands how to play the market. He understands how to grow the market, and he understands how to get his product done. And if we just grow at the same level as last year, if we just hit 800,000 additional subscribers, this is a $200 million business next year. If we said we're going to do 20 to 25 million of EBITDA, next year is 35 million. All right, just off the same exact number. So we couldn't be more excited about where the business is today, where the team is at today. As you know, we have a work last night. I took multiple of my board members out for dinner last night. It's really unique. You got some of the smartest media and technology players all in one family, right? Over $100 billion has been created by this group. And I'm lucky, right? They're all big fans of what we built. They're all excited about it. Kenny Solomon, who runs the tennis channel, is like, music's just bigger than tennis, right? Tennis is amazing. We're killing it, but there's nothing bigger than music in this world. Just keep doing what you're doing. Keep delivering more subscribers, more advertisers. We've grown from 7 advertisers pre-COVID to this year over 600. All right. More and more advertisers are moving into this space, moving into podcasting. All right. And the next will be we'll have a much more robust audio offering every day. We're adding.
Let me ask you. So you're on Android. Well, I don't know if you're on Android Auto. I use you through Android Auto, right? I actually run it through my phone through Android Auto. International for you guys, is there an ability for you to go international, or is it just the States?
Definitely. As you know, we have a massive audience overseas. We stream Rock in Rio and EDC China, Japan, Mexico, Seagate out of Budapest, right? Jazz Mantra out of Switzerland, right? So we have a global audience, right? And music's a global audience. We had to clean up our payables. We had to build a stronger and stronger relationship with the music community, right? Record labels, publishers, so on. We've done a great job of that, right? We have a great opportunity to try to expand with Tesla overseas. We have a great opportunity to expand potentially with Twitter, with X, right? Those satellites, I love having music come from those satellites, right? A lot of places, there's 8 verticals that we've announced, right? And 35 B2B deals in the works that are similar to that multi-8-figure deal with billion to multi-trillion-dollar companies. We said we're going to probably land somewhere out of those 35 B2B deals. We'll land somewhere around 5 to 10% of them, right? We've already landed 1. If we land 3 of those, right, I'm way low on my numbers. Okay, so the team is laser focused. I hired a head of B2B. Hired him out of Microsoft. He's done billions of dollars of B2B deals, right? I hired a team around him. I'm going to keep growing that team. As we're cutting and taking costs out of the business, right? As we consolidate this business, right? We took $100,000 of literally of corporate overhead just on leases alone by taking the space and consolidating everything. We're going to keep doing it, but you will see the growth is you'll see us here, salespeople and B2B people. We have the content, right? When I had Digital Turbine, the only thing I was missing, right, from this beautiful business we built was we didn't own our own content. We had technology, we had management, we had board, right? But we didn't have control of our own content. And right now, for the next 10 years, content is king and content is King Kong, right? There's so much massive distribution. You got to have the best content. If you have the best content, you have a unique opportunity. We're one of 12 to 13 companies in the world doing what we're doing, just on the audio side of the line, having the record labels and the publishers. Okay. That market is about to explode. It's 500 million paying subscribers around the world. It's going to 1.7 billion. That's just a paying one.
You're a
right?
technology company too. You have your technology for Slacker and for your tech. I mean, I don't know if people appreciate that and the
Yeah,
live events and the whole thing. I mean, there's a lot going on here.
Yeah, we tap, right? I mean, as you know, Tim, because you've been there for it, right? We have 45 patents, right? We had an audio technology team that came out of the Qualcomm world of San Diego, right? And have been building this, right? $200 million, $180 million went to Slacker Radio, $40 million went to PodcastOne before we were involved. Just like when I acquired Digital Turbo and we took those, we had some cleanup to do, but we have some amazing assets there, an amazing IP, and a world-class technology team. What did that team do? They built everything from blockchain to NFTs. They built world-class live streaming platform, pay-per-view platform, right? Messaging, chatting, built it all in-house, right? What's next? Huge initiative in AI. We are moving fast and furious in AI. As you know, we're starting to do podcasts that are multilingual. We're starting to launch channels that are built off the backs of AI. We've announced partnerships with Seeker. We've announced partnership with Audio Source, right? You're going to see more and more of that happening, and more of those opportunity. And music is such a beautiful place for AI, right? Not to steal music or to create music for somebody else for that is going to compete with the talent, because we're a talent first platform. It is to search and find your music and create those beautiful channels. So imagine we have 500 channels. Imagine we can launch another 100 channels in a matter of days, right? Having that AI combined with the help of a host, right? A DJ, VJ, right? The old days, who was actually picking the final music, but with the help of AI, right? It takes a substantial burden off of the company in creating those new channels. So you're going to see many, many channels coming built off the backs of AI in conjunction with human behavior.
You talked a while back, I think it was at Needham, about the convergence of all the different types of media, right? The visual, video and audio, and podcasting, and it's happening, right? I mean, it's happening right before our eyes.
Yeah, this is, it's gotten really expensive. It costs $1.5 million for an hour of content. It's unaffordable. Little secret. Our cost of content is under $10,000 an hour and going down every year because music is not that expensive, right? And all these platforms, every streaming platform is going to need audio, is going to need music, is going to need live streaming, and we have the ability to provide all of it. And we're flexible. We have a couple of huge advantages. Number one is we're a nimble, small company, so we can be nimble. Our competitors, who are also our partners, everyone from Spotify to Apple, we love them, right? Okay, but they're big, they're gigantic companies, right? We could service them, we could handhold them, right? We'll do whatever they need to. Number two is we could price it way lower than them, right? Our pricing is 1/3 the cost of anyone else in the industry, right? And then last but not least is we can white label. So think of all those verticals. Think of retail. Think of car companies. Think of carriers around the world, right? I had 58 partners, carrier partners in Digital Turbo. It's a reason it went to 12 billion, right? It wasn't because we were so good. It was because we leveraged off the backs of it. We had great technology. Imagine now having technology and owning the content and having their distribution. It's a beautiful partnership, right? Those multi-8-figure deals are coming, and they're going to come quick.
For those that don't know Rob Ellin, what drives you, Rob? You're one of the hardest. I know that you're one of the hardest working CEOs I've ever come across. I can get a text from you at 4 a.m.
Okay.
I can get a text from you at midnight, which makes me wonder, when the hell does this guy sleep, right? But what is it that drives you?
So there's a lot of things. Number one is, as you know, I started this as a social message, right? So in starting this as a social message, I built this to unify the world around live music, right? Okay. So when you think about that, right, when you have a giant social message, that social message could convert into a giant business. When you have a giant social message and a giant TAM. So what drives me, right? I have 4 beautiful children, all right? 29, 27, 22, and 13. All right. I got to feed them. But I also don't want to just feed them. It's not just the economics of it. I want to create things. I want to leave something behind for them. I want to create something that is so powerful and special message, right? That they have an opportunity to be a participant and a partner. And you'll see all my kids, if you come in on Saturday, all four of my children will be there and their friends will be there, right? That's a beautiful thing. Number two is my DNA, right? I tell everybody it's not because I'm smart, it's I outwork everyone. I work harder. If my team is going to work this hard and survive it, right? I got to keep working at this level.
I think, yes, you are a hard worker, but you know what? It's not that you are outwork everybody. You are quick to make a decision. Like, for example, when you saw that the live events were not working, you had to make a very tough choice. And when you recognized that the markets were probably going to go through a hiccup, you did not hesitate to make some very difficult choices, right?
I mean, listen, I mean, some of my dear friends and people I've been friends forever are no longer with the company. That it's not an option, right? If you don't make those changes, then everybody's affected, right? And my first job is shareholders. I focus on shareholders, right? If I make shareholders money, I'm going to get another shot on goal, right? So thankfully, shareholders made fortunes in the stock, right? There's been a lot of people who've had big runs in it, right? I got to have another one, right? And so I'm up to the task.
But you don't have to have another one. See, that's the thing. That's what I find so fascinating about you, because you've done it. You've already done it. You've done it.
I got it.
And what just blows my mind is,
that statement, what have you done for me lately? Right? That's me. It's in our DNA, right? As an athlete, right? Not that I was such a great athlete, but I always played to win. Right? I didn't come into this. I didn't put $18 million in personally. I didn't get my family involved, my children involved, my life involved, my friends involved, unless I was going to win big. And so we're winning big. This business is growing fast, and we're going to crush this, and we're going to finish this. We're going to finish this off. And I can't tell you it's going to go to 12 billion like Digital Turbine, but I can tell you that we are going to have a multi-billion-dollar business over the next 5 years, and we're in the trenches, ready to go. We're there. We're excited. We broke that $100 million barrier by a distance now. Now we got room to deliver bottom line.
all right, as from the market side of things, you mentioned that you can feel it in your bones. I don't just feel it in my bones, I see it. And before, news did not matter, and it didn't matter what you posted. You got no follow through. I'm seeing that news is starting to matter, right? And I think personally the Fed is done with the increases, which that alone should be reason to celebrate, right? But he's probably going to do a cut. I would think will be the next move, because all that stuff that he's done hasn't even worked its way through its cycle. And here's the other thing about Rob Ellin. Well, what was your major? What was it? Finance?
Well, I didn't have a major, right? I'm on the president's committee of my college. I just had the president and the head fundraiser for Pace University here, and they asked me a question: when was the last time you visited the school? I don't know the address. Unfortunately, I was dyslexic as a kid and ADD, and so I had to start a little bit differently. My brother got into Harvard Law School, and I said, "There's no way in the world he's 2 years older. He's starting 2 years ahead of me. If I go through the next 2 years of school, I'm going to be 4 years behind." So I had a little white lie to my dad and say, "Listen, I'm leaving school to go to school during the day in New York and go to work at night." I was literally taking the train in at 6 o'clock in the morning, right, going to work till 5. And in theory, I was going to school. So, hopefully he doesn't listen to this interview. He's 92 years old. Otherwise, he may yell at me. But I didn't really make it to the school. I don't really know the address, but somehow I got my degree, and we're very good partners of the school.
You're a numbers guy. You're a numbers guy, right?
Yeah, no, 100%. I grew up, my dad was an accountant. I started his accounting firm, and I think it's so critical for any kids or anyone young to really understand accounting. Is so important. And, the John Malones of the world, and, the really genius engineers who have engineered companies in the public markets have really utilized accounting to get there.
Okay. Rob, I know you're busy as hell. You got a big event coming up this weekend. I think the market is off. It is not pricing in a lot of what I would consider to be game changer type things that are happening at LiveOne. But I'm confident. Why am I still here? I mean, I was in at 7. I was in before 7. I did take some off the table when it went to 7, but I have never ever been out of LVO. I've never been out of LVO. I have multiple accounts, and I'm always going to have a position in LVO because I would never bet against you. I just wouldn't. And I think you have. I know you have. I see it firsthand. Something very special, and I know you're not going to quit. You're going to keep going, and you're going to make a lot of people that believe in you a lot of money. I mean, especially in my view, and I'm not telling anybody to buy that, and I'm not making any personal guarantees. I'm just saying at these levels, what is your downside risk? What is your upside potential? And the company, Rob, is it stronger today than it was 6 months ago?
Oh yeah. I mean, just, almost on a monthly basis, we just keep getting stronger and more powerful. We extended our contract with Tesla for the 11th year for 18 months again, right? We're growing there. Our podcast network is growing dynamically, 24 new podcasts, right? Takes us up to 180 of our podcasts that generate real revenues, right? The diversification of the portfolio is stronger than ever. Our music publishing is starting to grow. Our merch business is starting to grow, and lo and behold, our television division, which is really just an offset of our podcast, just taking a podcast that already makes money and be able to sell that to Netflix or Apple or so on. If I sell one show there, and again, I say this humbly, when we did the movie 300, we did $1 billion in revenues. You just need one TV show, one film, and we've got 5 already. We'll be doing 8 to 12 of those original programs a year. Times the next 3 years will be 36. If 2 or 3 of those sell, right, it's another just a great example of the same content driving brand new revenue streams. And we're going to be talking about, as I promised, we grew to 3.5 million subscribers from 400,000, right? We're going to be talking about that 10 million subscribers. At 10 million subscribers, we're doing $1 billion in revenues. We're on our way.
All right, Rob. Thank you for coming in and taking the time to tell everybody your story. And I'm recommending that at these levels, maybe you don't want to go all in. That's fine. But I think this is an excellent spot, especially technically, because it's been bouncing between the $1. You got some resistance at $2, right? I think when you take out 2 and that will become the floor, right? And you will have broken the longer term trend line. And I think you're just positioned extremely well where you are with Drumify. And I think Drumify is not even being recognized for how big it can be.
Great,
Just
great.
that one little piece. So keep an eye on the story. And real quick, why was the spin out of podcast, Rob?
So podcast spin out was multiple reasons. We raised $8 million, right? Close to $100 million valuation, right? Podcast business was still going through the restructuring from when we acquired, even though it had great assets, right? Now we acquired many of the assets from Cast Media. Huge for us, huge audience, right? Huge audience growth. We grew from like number 16 to number 10 and PodTrax, right? And we also got all of our debt by going public, all that converted. We're not done with those acquisitions. Every single podcast in our network right now has stock, right? We want them as our partners. We want them to participate not only in the revenue stream, but we want them to be a participant in the stock. And, their social media following those super fans will become shareholders of this company. And it's the reason we have 28,000 shareholders. When we closed the IPO, we had 5 shareholders. Fidelity took the whole IPO, right? My friend Ramin Irani has now joined our board, $40 billion fund. They didn't want anyone else coming in because he believed this was a digital turbine. All right. He told me last night, he still believes Digital Turbine. All right. He can sit on a lot of $10 billion boards, right? He sits on our board because he's that confident and that excited about what we're building, and so is the rest of the team. And so we're gonna keep doing that. And then stay tuned, watch closely, right? Podcast stock is trading at 50% of revenues, right? There was no IPO, there was no SPAC, there was no money raised, right? It was just uplisting and getting it ready, which is usually what I do with these companies. Now it's ready for prime time.
So who's the largest shareholder of Podcast One?
Myself.
And
So-
what about LiveOne? LiveOne?
So LiveOne controls 82% of PodcastOne, right? It's a wholly owned subsidiary, but we have a
Okay.
world-class team there. That team has done billions of dollars of revenues, right? Sue McNamara ran sales for Howard Stern and for Mel Karmazin, right? Kit Gray ran division of iHeart, right? And the rest of the team came under Norm Patitz, who's my partner, which was a big loss, a giant loss to us, right? When he passed away. Norm was one of the pioneers who built the radio industry, and we rebranded our company as LiveOne because what could you do better than having Westwood One, right? And then having Podcast One, and here's 40 years of history of one of the great pioneers in music and one of the great, relationships with creators around the world. And that's why Shaq, Mike Tyson, Adam Carolla, Jordan Harbinger, all of them in on a platform, and you're going to continue to see more and more talent. Stay tuned. There's going to be some amazing talent joining our platform on top of what we already have today, any minute now.
You always have unbelievable energy. Always have unbelievable energy and passion, man. I love you, Rob.
Thanks,
I thank
Tim.
you for coming in, and we'll do it again. Not so long in between.
Great. I appreciate your support, Tim, and stay close.
Okay, man. Thank you for tuning in to another CEO interview here at Alpha Wolf Trading. Today we had Rob Ellin, from CEO of LiveOne, ticker symbol LVO, chairman of Podcast One, ticker symbol PODC. If you enjoyed today's interview, do us a favor, please. Give us a like. How about a share? And smash that subscribe button. Those things are incredibly important to us here at Alpha Wolf Trading. Until next time, stay safe. Alpha Wolf Trading wishes you the very best of success.